What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to Blazers Uprise Live here on Media Day, September 29th, 2025. We're finally out of the offseason and we're finally ready to talk about Blazer basketball, which is on the horizon. First preseason game, October 8th. Today, we're going to talk about some quotes, some interesting quotes, and an interesting conundrum that the Blazers face as they head into training camp. We're going to talk about whether or not the starting lineup has already been decided. And we're going to talk about what changes we expect to see from your Portland Trail Blazers on the floor this year based on the comments that we heard today. Once again, shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring this stream. Use promo code Uprise. Get a 100% match up to $100. Eric, what's going on, man? How was your Monday, and how did you enjoy Media Day?
My Monday was pretty good. Tried to listen to the interviews while driving around at work, and then re-listen to them all when I got home. So yeah, it's pretty good. I think general messaging in terms of the offense and things like that, which we'll get into. But yeah, weekend was pretty good as well. How was your weekend?
My weekend was good, man. My weekend was good. I, won in fantasy, 3-1 in fantasy, enjoying that. Looking,
Almost had a huge sleeper win.
yeah, I almost had a huge sleeper win, man, which would have helped me fund my Mariners tickets because those tickets are insane, but got a little bad beat at the end there. I'm going to share that with the stream today when we get into our sleeper segment. But all in all, good weekend, and happy to have Blazer basketball back, basically. It's still a little bit of time until we get our first on-court action, but it's always interesting to hear the team set expectations for the year. And I think there was, when I was watching this live, I live streamed this earlier in the day. Shout out to you if you were there for that live stream. But when I was live streaming, I felt like there wasn't much material to really dive in on. But that was because the Blazers streams were like kind of glitching, and I missed one of Jeremy Grant's answers. And
Oh.
we're gonna have to lead with that basically when we discuss media day. So looking back and hearing things back, I think there's two themes to take away from media day. There's two themes to take away. There's a lot of young Hansen hype, but I feel like any rookie tends to get hyped up in media day.
But it was even more so, like, for a 16th pick wouldn't get that much hype. Like, Cllingan didn't get that much hype last year, where, like,
yeah,
every single report, every single person that goes up there is asked a question about him, you know?
yeah. I think he's gonna get a lot of hype just because his combination of size and skills is pretty unique. So even an NBA veteran seeing that combination, that's not normal to see in terms of a 7'2" big coming into the league being able to do the things that he can do. We'll just have to see how it translates on the court in terms of helping win an NBA basketball games. But looking forward to him for sure. That wasn't really one of my main two themes. There's always, I think, kind of two things you're looking for out of media day. One is maybe an inkling as to who they're leaning towards in terms of a starting lineup. Sometimes that's not a question at all. The prime Dame, West, Batum, Aldridge, Robin Lopez teams, there was no question about who would start at all. So sometimes that's, nothing
Most
to
teams
even
had,
talk
like,
about.
no bench.
Yeah. But with the Blazers being a deep team without star talent, or maybe they have star talent this year, we'll see. But the starting lineup is going to be a conversation this season, probably next season. That's takeaway number one. And then the other theme is just the offensive changes and schematical stuff, which is always interesting every year and always the main reason, I think, to watch preseason is to see what they're trying to do differently than they did in a previous season. So those are the two main things I'm going to focus on.
Yeah, I think those, like, obviously, that's something we've talked a lot since Phillips mentioned how he needs to be better and change the offense and all that kind of stuff. So just hearing them talk about that, hearing what the players think the changes are, not just hearing Chauncey say it. So that's going to be important. And then, of course, we've discussed that final, what we believe is just one open roster spot or open starting lineup spot. I mean, I guess it's possible they both start and someone else doesn't, but I think it was pretty clear today that the front court is set, and I'm pretty certain that Drew is starting, like I've maintained since we traded for him. So I do believe it is down to those last two. And as the question in the title is raised, has it already been decided? Has Grant already been told that he's starting, or is it really up to what Chauncey said? Is that it's not up to him actually as the head coach of a basketball team who starts? It's who the players decide start based on their play and in training camp and stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that conversation. I kind of want to warm us up here with talking about a couple different things. So we have to talk about the injuries. Unfortunately, day one, media day, we have 2 injuries to talk about. The one we already knew was Scoot Henderson. It sounds like they're going to do a point guard by committee. They brought up names such as Blake Wesley and Caleb Love. I don't think either one of those guys factors into the rotation on opening night, and I don't think they should. I think if this team is serious about trying to win basketball games, neither one of those guys is ready to legitimately help them win basketball games. So I'm not counting on that being, those 2 guys being a part of the rotation. They also brought up positional versatility and how they have guys that can do different things offensively, which speaks to me that behind Drew Holiday, it's going to be a point guard by committee. It's going to be some Denny Avdia, most likely, which was my expectations going into media day, and that was pretty much confirmed by the comments that I heard.
Yep, and Cronin actually said he's not overly concerned with the ball handling issue with Scoot being out. So, I mean, I guess we had talked about whether they needed to add another point guard or a true ball handler. It doesn't appear to be the case. Feels like they're going to use Drew a lot in that role, and then Denny and Sharp, he mentioned, can handle the ball. He said Tumani's been working on that as well, so maybe he's improved enough to do that a little bit. And then, yeah, like you mentioned, he did mention Blake and Caleb specifically. So, yeah, I don't know if one of them will get a chance to play some games. I mean, maybe you just don't worry about Caleb's 50-game limit this year. I don't see any reason why to worry about that. So if you need some minutes out of him, but he's not really a true point guard either. I mean, he can handle the ball, but man, I mean, I guess if he just came in and ran the offense, like he's certainly a capable player and stuff like that. So I don't know.
I would trust Denny Avdia to run an NBA offense as a point guard more than Caleb Love.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't view Caleb Love as a true point. I don't view Blake Wesley as a true point. I feel like both those guys are more so shooting guards and point guard bodies. Now, Blake Wesley isn't a great shooter either. So given the potential issues from behind the arc, I am not much of a fan of him being in the rotation on opening night. So I think it will be point guard by committee, and that will go into discussing the offensive system, which we'll hear from Chauncey. I have a clip queued up where he discussed that. But the other injury, shocker, Robert Williams III is not cleared to play right now. Unfortunately, it's not surprising, and there wasn't really much of a timetable. Robert Williams said there was a date, but he wasn't allowed to tell anyone.
Why not, by the way?
Yeah, or at least, like, somebody has, like, is it a date
like
in
a
November?
General idea. Yeah.
You know, like, can we get a little bit of a timetable? No, we're keeping things under wraps with that, so who knows? Maybe he'll play opening night, but maybe he won't play until December. You don't know with Robert Williams, unfortunately. And he talked about some of his struggles going through injuries. Unfortunately, he's not a lot of them. Hopefully he can play. There was a comment, it was kind of weird, about, you know, Joe Cronin said if Chauncey doesn't play Young Hansen, maybe he'll see some time in the G League. That's a paraphrase. But then Chauncey said that Young will play. And
definitely play.
yeah, so Is that he'll play even if Robert Williams III is healthy? Or is that he'll play because Robert Williams III is not going to be healthy to start the season? I don't know. But that's going to be a conversation. And, I mean, we just have to accept that he's not going to stay healthy. If he surprises everyone and plays 70 games this year after he comes back from the injury that he's dealing with right now, great. But you can't expect it. So I think at this point, yeah, I'm expecting Young Hansen to factor into this Blazers season in a pretty big way off the bench because he's next up after Robert Williams. I would rather play Young than Uprise. I don't think Uprise is going to factor in a big way, and if he does, that means we're probably losing a lot of games or dealing with a ton of injuries, which means we'd be losing a lot of games naturally, but hopefully Robert Williams can get healthy. Hopefully that's not something that continues to linger once he's back.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Were you even, for some reason, I didn't think that would be an issue. Like, that didn't even cross my mind that he hadn't been cleared to play yet. So when Cronin said that pretty much right off the bat in his interview, it was kind of like, oh man, like he's still not even cleared from surgery he had last season after all the injury problems he's had. It was just kind of a bummer. Like I wasn't expecting to hear that he wasn't ready for training camp, but yeah. And then just, I mean, they made it seem like he was really close, but like also not giving a date or like not being like, oh, he should be back within the next few weeks or something. Like that also leads me to believe that they're not. I don't know. They're being weird about it.
Of course they are. It's always something weird injury wise. This is just the latest. I don't expect him to play back to backs. I expect him to get some rest days. And last year, even when he was healthy, he did play limited minutes. And maybe there is a world where, Donovan Cllingan plays 27 minutes, Robert Williams plays 13, and Young Hansen plays 10. And you see three guys playing double-digit minutes at the center position any given night. Now, Donovan Cllingan looked thinner. We can kind of transition into that real quick, and we'll touch upon little things here and there as we go along. But Donovan Cllingan looked thinner. He said he was in much better shape than he was a year ago. He basically said he's ready to play 30 minutes, Eric. That magical 30 minutes per game number that a lot of people have said he's incapable of playing, and the Blazers shouldn't count on him playing that many minutes a game this year. He sounded ready to and looked pretty good. You could tell in his interview he looked like he was in better shape. So that was a positive.
Yeah, I feel like they didn't really come out and say this, but like clearly with letting Ayton go, with Rob Will's uncertainty with injuries, and with Hansen's injury, or not injury, but being a rookie and not knowing how he's going to contribute day one. I mean, it does sound like they're going to be leaning on Donovan very heavily as the center of this team and as the rim protector and as that, security blanket at the rim for playing really aggressive on the perimeter. And so, yeah, it's something that you and I tried to explain and tell people very early last season that Cllingan was better for this team long term than Ayton, and I think it was very clear that this team saw that too last year and was ready to make him a bigger part of the equation and get Ayton out of here, and feel like that's kind of addition by subtraction just because Clingan's going to be the unquestioned starting center now.
Yeah, I'm on the record expecting a huge year for Cllingan. I don't know. I don't know if I want to say he's going to be all defensive team, but I would not hesitate to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it might not be like when you say huge year, he's not going to like average 20 and 10 or anything like that.
Yeah,
it's
but I
not
mean,
going
like,
to look like that. But
I
like,
think he'll be in conversations
Mhm.
as being like a top 5 rim protector. I think you can start to have those conversations next year. I think he'll have that level of impact defensively where he's in conversations for an all-defensive team, which would be a huge year for him. I don't know what the three-point ball looks like. I don't know what the finishing looks like. He said he worked on that a lot, which is good. He needed to improve there. But I think he's going to have a monster year defensively.
Yeah, I mean, analytically, we saw the impact he had last year as a rookie, which is really impressive when a rookie comes in and does that.
Yep.
Especially, I mean, like Tamani kind of did that as a rookie too. Obviously, he improved a lot in his second year, but he was also like 23 years old in his rookie year, so it's not. Donovan's a little younger and much tougher thing to do. Now we did see Walker Kessler do that his rookie year and then kind of fall off a little bit. So I don't expect that from Donovan. I feel like he's a better player than him, and I do think that he's going to be that anchor that this team has been missing for a long time.
Yep, fully agree. All right, let's get into the big topics here. We can discuss the starters or the offense. Which one do you want to start with, Eric?
Let's just go to the starters.
All right, so there was 2 responses from the 2 players that are vying for the 5th and final starting spot. Those 2 players being Jeremy Grant and Shaedon Sharpe. I will play.
Let's Scoot out of the equation. It would have been 3, but yeah.
But given these answers, I feel like Scoot wasn't even in the equation. We're going to talk about this. I'm going to show you both Jeremy Grant's and Shaedon Sharpe's responses to being asked about being a starter. And I feel like it's very telling. So here we go. Here's what Jeremy Grant had to say.
Jeremy, it's been 5 years since you came off the bench, I believe. You haven't come off the bench since near the bubble. Have you considered a role where you would have to not start games here, or is that not something you've thought about?
Nah, I don't really expect that. So.
Nah, I don't really expect to come off the bench. Meanwhile, you had Shaedon Sharpe say this.
You expect to be a starter this year?
I don't expect anything really. I just expect for me to come in and help this team, whether that's, coming off the bench or starting. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm just going to come out and do what I got to do to help this team.
So the Blazers live stream, when we were streaming earlier today, the Blazers live stream was lagging. So I didn't hear that Jeremy Grant answer while we were streaming. I heard the Shaedon Sharpe answer and just chalked it up to like, oh, that's just such a Shaedon Sharpe answer.
Yeah.
That is...
He does kind of smile at the end of that answer, like like he's saying something,
Yeah.
Like he would be told to say that.
The Jeremy Grant answer says to me that he has not had a conversation with the organization whatsoever about coming off the bench, which implies to me that he's probably going to start. Now, Shaedon Sharpe could tear up preseason, and I hope that if Shaedon Sharpe plays well enough that he gets a starting spot. If he gets a starting spot, is there a possibility they'd start Jeremy Grant over Tabati Kamara? I mean, the fan base would revolt. I feel like it has to come down to Sharpe or Jeremy, and if Sharpe looks great in preseason, it's going to look really bad to start Jeremy Grant over him. The Blazers are in a horrible situation with Jeremy Grant. He sounded like he was just trying to give the right PR answers. He was asked if he expected to be here at this point, and he said no, and I respect his honesty, okay? I respect his honesty, but it's honestly a legitimate problem beyond just the salary. All right? The salary is one thing. We've talked about how the salary is what it is. He's making an obscene amount of money. and he's overpaid, and that's an immovable contract, okay? All those things are absolutely true, and I think were proven true this offseason considering the Blazers didn't trade him, even though they definitely wanted to, even though Jeremy Grant expected to be traded via his own words today. So the fact that he's still here means that he's not tradable. But they have a problem beyond all that. And the problem is they want to start him. They want to start him at the expense of their highest upside young player going into year freaking 4. It's year 4 for Shaedon Sharpe. It's a contract year. He's a restricted free agent this upcoming offseason. The Blazers are hanging their hat on a defensive identity, and the argument I've heard is, oh, well, Jeremy Grant's a better defender than Shaedon Sharpe. Okay, yeah, sure. They need offense, and Shaedon Sharpe is a better offensive player than Jeremy Grant. They absolutely need offense. And you have this player who has a ton of upside, who showed flashes of stardom last year. They should want nothing more than for Shaedon Sharpe to take that leap. If he's showing signs of that this preseason, but you have somebody in Jeremy Grant who, A, didn't think he'd still be here, B, even though he says he's happy to be here, I don't really believe him. I believe he's just kind of like, oh, whatever, at least I'm being paid $34 million. And I just foresee a situation where he's starting where Shaedon Sharpe looks good. Shaedon Sharpe looks better than Jeremy Grant, looks like a better player, looks like the offensive player this team needs, and the Blazers still don't start him over Jeremy Grant. And long term, throughout this season, what happens when Scoot comes back and you have Drew, you have Scoot, you have Sharpe at guard spots, but you're starting one of your forwards at a guard spot to accommodate Jeremy Grant, right? Because if you're starting Drew, you're starting Tamani, you're starting Denny, you're starting Jeremy, you're starting Cllingan. One of those guys is technically taking up guard minutes. You're playing 3 forwards and a center, okay? And then that becomes kind of what we've talked about in the past, where you're accommodating a veteran who's not more impactful than your younger players who have more upside, and that is a major, major problem. That's not even getting into the contract. That's not even getting into whether or not the Blazers could actually trade Jeremy Grant. The only upside of that is maybe Jeremy Grant plays him into a spot where he is tradable, but I am tired of showcasing veterans at the expense of young players, hoping that they accumulate some sort of trade value when they're on a contract that they should not be on. The Blazers got rid of that problem in DeAndre Ayton for Donovan Cllingan. I applauded that move, even though they just bought him out and didn't get anything back for DeAndre Ayton. With Jeremy Grant, I just see this being a problem all season long, where he's just the starter, and the Blazers aren't getting Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe enough minutes. They're not letting them break out. And then the offense, we'll see what changes they make, but the offense is still struggling. And there's just minutes issues where certain guys are playing better, but not playing as many minutes as guys like Jeremy Grant, even when Jeremy Grant has a bad game. We saw that movie last year. I do not want to see that movie again, but I'm about to sit down in the movie theater with my popcorn and watch it.
Tori, did you not hear Joe Cronin say he's expecting a big year from Jeremy Grant? Man, to be fair to Jeremy, though, I do think, last year I think he was the oldest guy on the team, right? At 30. 30.
Yeah.
Right? And so they bring in Drew and Dame. So I do think his attitude, it's not just him saying that. I do think now that they're trying to win and they brought in a couple of veterans that are older than him, I do think it did kind of change things for him to being like back engaged a little bit. Now, does that mean he deserves to start? Absolutely not. I'm just going to say this right now. We got to get into this later, but Shaedon Sharpe is he is ready to break out. And I think he's ready to be a fringe all-star starting this season. And if they keep the stupid guardrails on him to where he can't break out this year, it's going to be really frustrating to me. in lieu of playing Jeremy Grant over him, who was terrible last year. Sharp is your future. You need him to break out. You need to take those guardrails off. You need to let him be what he can become. This is year 4. This isn't the year to hold him back another season while we play a 30-year-old who maybe or maybe doesn't want to be there. So tough crap if you don't want to come off the bench. You didn't play well enough last year. Sorry, that's how it works.
Yep.
I'm not going to bench the guy who possibly could be the difference between us making the playoffs or not, or being a contender in the near future, over a guy who doesn't even want to be here a few months ago and only wants to be here because we brought in a few guys and is still kind of checked out anyway. And it's just it makes me so mad that, like, because like Joe Cronin even talked about having the guardrails. And remember us having that conversation during the season last year? I brought it up several times. It feels like they're holding Scoot back, right? Yep. It felt like that. And Cronin admitted that today, yep, that they were holding it back. And that's
that comment by Cronin, not to open up a whole nother conversation, but that comment by Cronin was always why I was like, okay, if Scoot comes off the bench, can he ever play well enough to like cement himself as the starter and prove his way to being a starter if they're keeping the guardrails on him? And that was kind of like the crux of my whole opinion on the way they've handled Scoot. So to hear Cronin come out and say that, it was like, yeah, that's exactly what I've been talking about with Scoot, man.
And it's fine. Like, I get it the first couple years, right?
Yeah.
But like Scoot going to year 3, Sharp going into year 4, that's not the time to like keep those guardrails. Eventually you have to see, yep, what they can do if you take those training wheels off. Yep. So take the training wheels off the freaking bicycle and let them ride it like a freaking big boy, like it just that was one of the things that frustrated me today, because I like, what are you protecting them for? Like, yeah, Cronin even said they're protecting them. Like, what are you protecting them from? Like, we've sucked the last couple of years. It's not like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get it. The Blazers put the guardrails on what they can achieve this season if they put guardrails on Shaedon Sharp. What are you accomplishing by limiting him?
Especially with Scoot being out for a while, right? Like, yeah, this should be Sharp's time to show what he has.
I told you I was worried about Scoot coming back into a lineup that was already entrenched, especially if it was Grant as the starter, and just with the whole feeling like the Blazers do this with the young players, they put guardrails on him, and then to hear him admit it, man, it's like, is Scoot gonna have enough time to play well enough to get the guardrails taken off? It just seems like he's going to be fighting an uphill battle this year. Even if he's ready to break out, he's going to be fighting more than just, it's going to come down to more than just his performance. It's going to come down to him having to overcome Jeremy Grant as a starter. If he comes back and plays 20 minutes a game, would anybody be shocked? If Grant's starting it with 2 other forwards, so they're eating into guard minutes, and then Drew's playing 30 minutes a game, and then Sharp's playing, 30 minutes a game. I almost expect Scoot to come back and play 20 minutes a game for the first month. Even if he's playing well, it's not a big sample size per game. I just feel like it's going to be an issue this year. And it's only an issue because of Jeremy Grant still being here. It's the only reason it's an issue. His presence on this team would be fine if he's coming off the bench as a bench shooter that can play a little bit of defense. That's actually the best third forward kind of skill set that they need. They need shooting. They need a forward that 2 out of the past 3 seasons has shot at least 40% from 3, that can maybe do a little something off the dribble. The problem is last year he was frustrated with the offense. He was asked about that in media day today as well, and he spoke to, frustrated with last year's offense, but implied that the changes they're making this year somehow benefit him, which I feel like
didn't make sense either.
That part didn't make sense to me either.
because he said his challenges were he was an ISO player, right? And he's like used to getting his mid range shots, and we didn't shoot much mid range last year, but now like even less ISO and more movement is gonna help him somehow. Like, nah, that's just crap.
That's why I felt like that was just kind of a PR answer, and it was just overall just kind of a PR interview. It's really the only problem from Media Day for me, like, is the Jeremy Grant thing. But it's something that we knew was coming. I've been saying the entire year that they're stuck with him. They're going to have to figure out how to make it work best with them. And it's a legitimate problem if they feel like they can't bring Jeremy Grant off the bench and he'll remain engaged. Like, based on his interview today and based on his exit interview in April, I'm a bit worried if Jeremy Grant is going to play with 100% effort and stay engaged if he's coming off the bench. And maybe he would. I'm not saying he wouldn't, but it's a question mark for me. And if you got a guy that's being paid this much money and you have to worry about that, that's an issue. So the comment about, I don't expect that, it makes me wonder, okay, have the Blazers even approached him about the possibility? Because as an organization, if it's truly a possibility that Sharp might start and he might come off the bench, I would think they would have approached him by now and said, hey, man, listen, I know you were frustrated about some things. I know, I know you're still here. You're expecting to get traded. We weren't able to trade your contract. You're making so much money that we obliged in paying you. We gave you this massive contract, so now you have insane generational wealth. Now we can't trade you because of it. All right, there's a possibility that you might come off the bench this year. And if he doesn't accept that, then don't even play him. Don't even play him. If he doesn't accept that, then don't even play him. Okay, if he doesn't want to play hard, then don't even play him. And he might, but it worries me that it doesn't feel like to me that they've even had that conversation with him based on that response. Like, that's not something I expect.
Like, not even like, hey, just a heads up, we're gonna start who earns it in training camp. Like, not even that. Like, it didn't seem like they even said that.
Yeah, because
which
I
is
feel
completely
like
different than Chauncey's messaging.
Yeah.
And that's why I know when Chauncey says that it's BS, because like, Chauncey seems to have predetermined notions already.
Yep. It's I feel like if they approached him about it, he would have had a different answer along the lines of, I just want to win basketball games. Like, whatever the team decides, PR, that he doesn't even have to get into how he's actually feeling about it. Just he would have had some sort of PR answer. But to sit there and say he would have had a sharp answer. To sit there and say he doesn't expect it, I think is a red flag.
Nah, I don't expect that.
Yeah, that's
the way you said it, right? Like,
yeah.
hell no.
But Chauncey has a bias towards more veteran players. Mm-hmm. I feel like maybe part of it is because he feels like he can relate to them a little bit more. I don't know, because he's a young former player. I almost wonder if some young former players have an easier time just kind of playing the vets. That's at least a Chauncey issue, in my opinion, where he just feels more comfortable playing guys with more experience, even if they're not actually better players. And at the end of the day, how do you get more experience? You play more. You literally play more. That's how you become experienced. So it's an issue with Chauncey. I think it's an issue with Joe. It's an issue with this organization. I don't know if Tom Dundon coming in here is going to fix this issue, but it was a problem in the rebuild because we're rebuilding. Now we're trying to win basketball games. And some people may say, yeah, you start Jeremy Grant because gives you the best chance of winning basketball games. But I don't think it gives you a good enough chance at winning enough to actually be a playoff team in a loaded West. The Blazers need the upside of a Shaedon Sharpe breakout. They need the upside of a Scoot Henderson breakout. And if you're going to put guardrails on that, you're limiting the season to a play-in exit at best. And you guys know me, I hate settling for mediocrity. That's not even settling for mediocrity. That's settling for being a little below mediocre. which is just ridiculous to me. Like, either you're still rebuilding or you're trying to win games. Either way, it makes more sense to play the young guys. So, I don't know if anybody in chat disagrees with our opinions on this, but I would love to hear why.
Did you happen to pull the defensive rebounding clip from Chauncey?
Yes, I got that queued up.
Can you play that real quick for my next point?
Yeah, here we go.
Chauncey, your defense improved last year. You've got Drew coming in. How much of an impact will he have on this? And is your defense almost your identity rather than your offense now?
I don't think our offense is, has ever, since I've been here, been good enough to say that was our identity. I think I've said in front of you guys for years now, telling y'all that I believe in, if we're going to be any good, we need to be defense first team. Last year, the best thing that came out of the season for me is that we finally established that. In the second half of the season, we finally established our identity, and we'll look to get better with that. You bring in a guy like Drew Holiday, who's been one of the best defenders, really in this generation. And what he's able to do, how he's able to play, it just makes those things even better. So I'm really excited about where we are and what we're going to be able to do, in particular on the defensive end. The one area on the defensive end that we were really poor at is our defensive rebounding. That's going to be something that we have to be much better at. We'll focus on that right away, because we play such great defense, and then boom, the shot goes up, and then we don't get the ball. I mean, you got to play another 14 seconds of defense. It just wears you down. So we'll look to try to close out those defensive possessions, hopefully with a rebound.
All right. So,
All right, so Tori, who was the main culprit when it came to defensive rebounding last year and the last few years for the Portland Trailblazers?
So I'm gonna guess it's the forward that last season in 32 minutes a game averaged 3.5 rebounds per game.
Yeah, and that was the last couple of years he said he's been asked to improve that, and that's something that he's focused on doing, and it still didn't get any better, right? But we're just supposed to assume that the one area we need to improve is just happens to be the biggest weakness of the player we're going to start on offense. Do you care to guess what his defensive rebounding percentage was last year, Tori, without looking it up?
I mean,
or did you already look it up?
Well, I don't even know what would be bad. I know it's lower than Shaden Sharp's.
Yes, he was at 10%. Shaden Sharp was at 12.7%.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about finishing possessions and getting defensive rebounding being something we need to improve on, when you have Drew, Tamani, Denny, and Cllingan as your other four players who are all really good defenders, I'm sorry, play Shaden Sharp so you can get more defensive rebounds, because Jeremy Grant is not going to help you accomplish that. And you don't necessarily need your fifth player in that to also be a good defender. I think it's more important to have a better rebounder and that offense on the floor than to have a fifth starter who is an okay defender. Like, if our biggest problem is defensive rebounding, you cannot start Jeremy Grant in that lineup.
Yeah. It's crazy. We're talking about a shooting guard who's a noticeably better rebounder than the guy that's been our starting power forward the past 3 years. His rebounding's gotten worse. He was 4.5 rebounds per game his first season here. He was 3.5 the last 2 years. It has not gotten better. It's gotten worse. And it's a lot of effort issues. There's some feel problems there, some physicality problems, like he doesn't box out. There's a lot of effort, I think, that goes into going and grabbing rebounds, and he's just, I don't know, he's just not wired to grab rebounds. He's just not wired that way for whatever reason. He's athletic, he's lengthy, he absolutely should be able to go get you 6 rebounds per game and keep his guy off the glass, but he struggles with it. So I just don't really understand starting him from the standpoint of where the Blazers are trying to go offensively as well. He doesn't fit into what they're trying to do. He's an ISO player. He didn't really play well when the Blazers tried to implement more motion last year. They still struggled with motion. Now they really want to implement motion. Does Jeremy Grant fit into that better than Shaedon Sharpe? Shaedon Sharpe should be a lethal off-ball player if they implement good motion in the half court. He should be absolutely lethal. On the defensive side of the ball, most teams have a guy that you can put Shaedon Sharpe on and he'll be fine. And then you just hope that he fulfills his team defense responsibilities to an adequate level. If Sharpe can't even do that, then we have much bigger problems anyway. You don't need 5 good defenders in the starting lineup. The Blazers need more dynamic offense. They need another guy that can consistently create his own shot in that starting lineup. It can't just be Denny and a bunch of guys who, like, maybe on a good night can. Right? Like, Drew's more defensive. Jeremy's not somebody that's going to create for anybody else other than himself, and it's going to be a lot of mid-range shots, ISO ball, like, doesn't really play well in flow. So Shaedon Sharpe's a much better fit for the offense, a better defensive rebounder, much more upside. You don't need to go all in on defense with your starting lineup. You need a balance. They should be elite defensively, even starting Shaedon Sharpe, but Shaedon Sharpe starting and getting more responsibility gives them the upside of hopefully being at least an average offense this year, because that's the goal. Jeremy Grant doesn't really give them that upside unless their new offense is so great. But that wouldn't be Jeremy Grant. That would be Chauncey Billups and his assistant coaches figuring stuff out there. We'll talk about that. It's just, I don't want to start Jeremy Grant, man. If you want to bring him into the game early for Shaedon Sharpe, if Shaedon Sharpe's not hot early, fine. But Shaedon Sharpe should absolutely be like a 33-minute-a-game guy who is given responsibility in this offense with the hope that, yeah, this guy can improve as a three-point shooter. Sharpe said he worked a lot on his three-point shot this year. We'll see if he reaps the benefits of that. If he does, he has upside to be a 24 to 25 point per game scorer. The Blazers kind of need that guy, but also his off-ball ability should be elite, considering they're trying to get more motion as a backdoor cutter for a lob or a pass where he can finish around the rim, where he was elite last year, to coming off of curls, which he's looked really good at in his career. There's, I think, only one reason why you can say to start Jeremy Grant. That's just because defense and switchability, and look at our lineup last year with him. There's many more reasons to start Shaedon Sharpe.
And he's been our starter.
Yeah, I rest my case. We'll see what they do opening night. I just, it felt like we were finally going to stop worrying about dumb starting lineup decisions, and I all of a sudden, day one, we got media day, and I'm sitting here like, man, they're really going to start Jeremy Grant over Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson when he's back, probably.
We'll get more specific into the offense in a minute, but if the offense was to work out to the level that is designed to work out to, Shaedon Sharpe would be the ideal fit if they run that offense.
Yeah.
He's more athletic. He can finish around the rim better, like you mentioned. You can just do so many more things with him. Jeremy Grant's more of a get the ball, kind of back someone down or lull him to sleep and then drive on him kind of player. He hasn't shown anything. And a veteran that's been in the league that long, sure, he could fit into the offense, but he's not going to completely change the dynamic of it like having someone like Shaedon Sharpe can. Because if Shaedon Sharpe, all he'd have to do is just make one dive cut per possession, and it completely changes how the defense has to react, because you have to account for any sort of lob to him, any sort of pass to get him the ball near the hoop. You have to account for that. So if it's as simple as just him moving towards the basket and going to the other side or something like that, that's a huge game changer for the other four players, because the offense will slightly lean towards what Shaedon's doing and look for him to stop those lob opportunities or easy baskets. So I just don't see that with Grant. So the potential of this offense is with players like Shaden Sharp maximizing those cuts and that off-ball movement. It's not by throwing Grant out there and trying to teach a 31-year-old like how to move off ball in his like 10th year or whatever he's in, 12th year. How many years has he been in the league? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
he is
just,
what he is.
Yeah.
He is what he is. I will say the other case for starting Sharp is the Blazers and Chauncey talked about being a better transition team, running more, being more efficient in transition. Jeremy Grant's a good lane filler in transition. Shaden Sharp's a great lane filler in transition and good with the ball in his hands in transition.
Yeah.
So if you're really trying to implement that offensively, Shaden Sharp is a better option for that as well. So I think Shaden Sharp is the key for where the Blazers want to go. I would just hate for them to start Jeremy Grant because they think, oh, well, it'll be less of an issue with these two guys if we start Grant compared to starting Sharp. And there is a little bit of that feeling if they go with Jeremy Grant, that they are just trying to get Jeremy Grant to buy in and they feel like Sharp's going to just, he'll be fine with whatever coming off the bench, whereas if they bring Jeremy Grant off the bench, he might have an issue with it or might not be as bought in. I could, and listen, I could be wrong, like Jeremy could be fine with that, but this is the type of stuff that I think you kind of have to worry about. Jeremy was pissed off in his exit interview last year. He seemed kind of check out in media day today and then says he doesn't expect to come off the bench. Just reading into all of that, I feel like he'd have an issue coming off the bench.
It feels like the Ayton thing all over again.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, we have to tell Ayton he's the starter going into the offseason because otherwise we might lose him emotionally, you know? Like,
yeah.
And
I'm
I
tired
hope that's
of it.
not the case. I hope Jeremy's professional and whatever happens, he proves us wrong. It just really seemed like he had no interest in even entertaining that idea.
You know what's weird to me is like they trade Ant for Drew. I think part of the reason was to open up offensive opportunity for guys like Sharp and Scoot and Denny, etc. Right? And they kind of said as much. Joe Cronin said as much. In my opinion, when he was talking about acquiring Drew, who's like more of an off the ball player, like on the ball, like he basically, reading in between the lines. I feel like he said that. He
fits with the players on the roster is what he said.
Yeah. Exactly. So, okay, they do that. They buy out DeAndre Ayton, and it's like they are literally taking all the steps to clear all the opportunity in the world for Shaden Sharp and Scoot Anderson. Okay, the last domino is Jeremy Grant, and it's like, okay, the solution to that problem is not as simple as trading Ant for Drew Holiday or buying out DeAndre Ayton going into the last year of his contract because Jeremy Grant has 3 years left on his deal, so you can't just simply buy him out. He's not an expiring. You'd have that dead money on your books for 3 years, which is just too much to fathom. Okay, it's not the right move. So you got to keep him. Okay, fine. You were stuck in a tough spot. You can still give Sharp, Scoot, these guys ample opportunity by bringing Grant off the bench. And then we talk about how they transition from last season to this season, where you had some really good moments from all these young guys last year that helped this team win 36 games. And then you go into this, you're like, yeah, these guys are getting every single opportunity to break out, and the offense is better, and the defense is borderline elite. That is the ideal season for the Portland Trail Blazers this year. They are very close to accomplishing that. All they have to do is not start Jeremy Grant. They just have to get out of their own way with the Jeremy Grant situation and say, you're coming off the bench for 25 minutes again. Because we have 2 forwards that are better than you. And guards that we'd rather play that are also better than you. They just have to get out of their own way. So listen, I could be complaining for nothing. Maybe people on opening night after we start Shaden Sharp will come back and say, Tori, you remember Media Day stream? You were complaining for no reason. Listen, I'll be thrilled to see Shaden Sharp start. I'll be very happy to see him start if that ends up being the case. These are just my concerns currently based on what we heard today, and these are the reasons why I would not be a fan of that. I always try and set the precedent beforehand of what I think the Blazers should and should not do, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the record, once again, if just in case anyone's never heard this, I'll always respect Jeremy Grant for coming here and being the one guy who came here to try and help Dame win and stuff like that. So much respect to him for that. I'll always have a fond appreciation for him as that. But I mean, if we're going to, make this rebuild the last few years pay off, it's got to be because guys like Shaden Sharp and Scoot Henderson take a jump. And if we continue to guardrail them into not being able to have that breakout, then it's not necessarily Jeremy's fault. It's just like, that's silly for us to be stuck in that situation. And that's the problem when you sign a contract like that is untradeable, basically. It forces you into situations like this. But no matter what that situation is, no matter what the reaction from Jeremy Grant is, I think you have to make that tough decision. And if he acts like a little baby about it, it proves that you made the right decision in my mind, and you freaking don't play him at all then. And
if he's a professional about it, credit to him.
Yeah.
I don't know how he would react. Okay, so I don't want to make it sound like we're just assuming he'd have an issue with it, even though that's my inkling. I don't know. But I echo your sentiment. If he has an issue with it, then that proves why he should not be a starter, because that's, some selfishness. And the only reason why he's in this position is because he's making absurd money. And
he played like crap last year.
Yeah, he didn't come into the season prepared. Yeah. He was not ready to play at the level that he was previous seasons. Maybe it's because he thought he was going to get traded. I don't know. Maybe it's because he was checked out because there was no expectations on this team last year and he just didn't really care. I don't know. But I think he kind of clearly came into the season not ready to play at the level that his contract demands and at the level that he did in previous seasons. I kind of feel like the whole offense thing, it's adjusting to the offense. I kind of feel like that's just a cop-out. I really do. I feel like that's a poor excuse. It's not good to have a player who's not a star, who constantly needs the ball in their hands to be effective offensively, and if he's used in a more secondary role, which he should be on any decent team, he struggles. If that's the excuse, and then complains about it. If that's the excuse, that's an indictment on him as a player at the NBA level, because he's not good enough to be that guy on a good team. He's just not. It's unfortunate. He is a fourth option, I think at best, on a contending team. And if he can't play like a fourth option plays, which is going to be off of other guys, off of your better offensive options, if that's an issue for him, then what is his role on a good team? I don't know. Well, the thing is, they're still so questionable offensively and they're so elite defensively. This might be the best situation for him to play his style of basketball on a playoff team that's like an 8th seed, Yeah. Because the defense will be elite, and there's, after Deddy, I guess, he could be the second option. I mean, he could be the lead freaking scorer if he starts and plays 35 minutes a game. We've seen him average 20 points per game, if he has a bounce back here. But guess what? No team's ever going anywhere meaningful with him as your leading scorer, your number one option, anything like that. So I just don't really understand what his role is on a good team if he can't play a more secondary role.
I mean, we are talking about a player who just 5 years ago had an opportunity to go back to a contender for the same amount of money and decided to leave and go to one of the worst teams in the league to be the guy and not win crap and just average 20 points per game and make money instead of staying in a really good situation. I saw Matt Moore tweet this out. He actually responded to 503 on Twitter saying that Jeremy Grant actually could have been the Aaron Gordon of that team. And he chose to basically just go score a bunch of points and try to, and that's how he's been. And I thought when he got traded here and Dame was already established that it would be different, but then Dame leaves and then Jeremy starts complaining about his role and stuff. Like, it's just kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
a different guy.
It's his right to want to go be the best player on a bad team. If that's what he wants, that's what he wants. You know what I mean? But we're not trying to be a bad team anymore. So, that's going to change naturally. That contract's just going to be a plague. It's just a plague. That contract is such a mistake. There are still people out there that, there's still people out there that try to make the claim that, oh, it's still a positive contract. They can move it if they want to. And then the goalposts, I assume, moved after they couldn't trade him this offseason because why would the Blazers want to deal with this? Why Jeremy Grant's expected to be gone. Given that Jeremy Grant expected to be gone, that absolutely implies that there was conversations between him and this front office about trading him.
Yeah.
It's so freaking clear as day that they tried to trade him and they couldn't. It's so clear as day that that contract is a negative contract. Anybody that tries to tell you otherwise is just straight up lying and it's just lip service for the front office. It's lip service for Joe Cronin, who gave him that contract, because they don't want to admit that he made a mistake. He made a bad move. And listen, GMs are going to make mistakes. That contract was a mistake. Honestly, maybe the contract wasn't even a mistake. Maybe they should have just traded him for whatever they could have gotten the offseason after giving him that contract after he averaged 20 points per game, and maybe they could have gotten something back, and they missed out because they were trying to get too much. Regardless of where the mistake was made down the line, there was a mistake made there, and now I assume they're going to be paying the price for making that mistake. And listen, mistakes are made. You got to make the best decision for the team moving forward. In my opinion, that is clearly starting Shannon Sharp. I have respect for being able to admit your mistakes and then try and make the right move instead of doubling down on your mistake by playing him however many minutes a game as a starter that they might play him this year.
And here's lastly, okay, so it comes down to this for me, because people will be
Why
like,
are you
why?
so pixelated? That
was weird.
What in the world did you just turn into?
I have no idea. That's funny.
I've never seen this before.
It's not on Streamlabs. That's weird.
It is in the collab cam. I think you
No, I
need
know,
to
but,
reconnect, yeah.
No, but I go on here, it doesn't. All right, I'll leave it. Come back.
All right. Eric had to collab cam himself. I don't know what that was. He transformed. His anger transformed him. All right, we're back. I'll just say, if Jeremy Grant gives effort off the bench in 24 minutes a game, I'm fine with him.
But
now, that's my hope.
For the people though saying oh, you guys were killing him before giving him a chance to do that. Okay, think back to media day though. Okay, even Anthony Simons, who the exit interview. Sorry,
The exit interview.
The interview a year prior. Anthony was kind of like this, right? But then the Blazers had an up and coming year, and Anthony kind of changed his tune and was a lot more positive in his exit interview this year. And that was the message from everyone on the team. Oh, look what we did this year. Look how much we grew. Look at how we established our identity, all this kind of stuff, right? They started talking about it, and you could see how excited they were for next year. Now, you can say whether or not that was warranted or not, or whether you believe it was a fluke or not. That's irrelevant, because they all thought, oh, we're building on something, and next year's going to build upon that, right? Jeremy Grant went up there and made it all about him and all about how, oh, I didn't fit into this offense. It was hard on me this year, blah, blah, blah. Not a word about, oh, yeah, I'm excited about being a part of this team and, growing. It was exciting that we finally started winning games after the last couple of years have been tough. He didn't say any of that crap. He just said, oh man, they just had trouble fitting in the offense, and it really caused me to struggle. because we played different. And I didn't get to ISO as much and all that kind of stuff. Like, he was the only one who went up there and made it about him instead of how much the team was improving and how much like that. And so when I see stuff like that I find it hard to believe after seeing his comments again today that he's just going to be like, oh, okay, I'll do whatever this team needs me to do to win, and I'll do the best I can. No, he's going to be like, oh, man, I'm only struggling now because I'm coming off the bench. I was ready to have a good year again and go back to 40% shooting, but then Chauncey decided to put me on the bench, and now I can't hit a three. You know, like, it's always someone else's fault. Come on.
Yeah.
We did say he was excited about the team, but there's a difference between like saying it and like what your actual actions and answers are. And when you say no, I don't expect that or whatever, it's like you're just like dismissing that your teammates are really good and stuff like that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean I said this while we were live stream X interviews. Like, this just sounded like a PR interview segment. I don't feel like he truly wants to be here. I mean, I think it's easier having like Drew and Dame, so I think he's a little more bought in. But his X interview last year screamed trade me. It screamed trade me.
That's also not a good way to get traded though. Like, you know, like if you have a bad attitude.
Playing like crap all season is not a good way to get traded either. So he should have played better. Or he should have asked for less money. Like, I just, it's hard for me to have sympathy for a guy wanting to get traded but not being able to get traded because he's overpaid and making obscene amounts of money. Like, it's kind of like, dude, okay, just take what comes with you being paid a crap ton of money that your performance doesn't match. Like, congratulations. It's a great scenario. You can come off the bench for 24 minutes a game as a $32 million player on a probably play-in team or 11th seed. You're making a lot more than anybody else coming off the bench probably in the entire league. So, given that you're a bench player on this team, be happy you're making a ton of money because that's why you're still here. We'll see how his effort is. Listen, if he starts, my standard for this team raises. The standard I'm going to hold them to, because they better be damn good if they're starting Jeremy Grant over Shaedon Sharpe. They better be so good that it justifies it. Like, that's the standard I'm going to hold them to. If they're starting Shaedon Sharpe, they kind of have the excuse of like, okay, he's better for our future. We think he's better for right now. We're going to try and win as many games. If we don't, at least we're playing the guy that has, you know, the most upside on the team, arguably. Our best chance at our best chance at a star for the future. Like, they have that excuse if they're not that good. If they're prioritizing Jeremy Grant over that, they better be damn good next season. And if they are damn good, and it proves to be the right decision for, like, trying to go on a playoff run this season, then I will sit here and be like, all right, well, in hindsight, sure. Yeah, it worked out. But I don't think that's gonna happen. I would love for them to be that good, but if I'm trying to be realistic, it's not gonna go that way. So we'll see. Those are all my thoughts. Let's see. Let's do a chat poll.
One more thing about Sharpe coming off the bench while you're setting that up. Yeah. Greg asked earlier, could he maybe be coming off the bench so we pay him as a sixth man? It could be true that if we guardrail and hold him back again this year, that could limit his contract, or we could have like a Quentin Grimes, Jonathan Kuminga situation where no one knows what their actual value is. That's possible next summer, but I don't understand why we would do that with Sharpe. Like, why would we try to like hold him back on purpose? Like the
to try and save a little bit of money.
Yeah.
When we need him to be as good as possible.
Cronin said he had no issue committing to him long term. That was the one thing he did say about contract extensions. I don't think it's worth saving a few dollars potentially to piss one of your players off that holds one of the keys to possibly becoming a contender in the future.
All right, here's your poll. Vote in the chat poll. Who should start? Actually, you know what? Let me do a new chat poll. Okay, because I did change Sharp or Jeremy Grant. I want to do an option that it doesn't really matter if you guys do not feel strongly either way. Okay, you know, if you strongly feel like it should be Shaden Sharp like us, you can vote that. Or the other way, if you strongly feel like it should be Jeremy Grant, you can vote that as well. All right, here's your poll. What's up, Ben? I'm glad you love the show. Thank you. Chris Murray in the chat.
Yeah, how many troll votes are we gonna have for Jeremy Grant?
18% of 19. Nobody's picking the wishy-washy option, which I respect. But for those of you who voted Jeremy Grant, make yourself known in the chat and let me know why you're voting for Jeremy Grant over Shaden Sharp. That's how you find out if it's a troll vote. You ask people to justify their vote in chat, and if they troll voted, then they just, you know, they're not going to make a case. B. Skrilla says, I don't think they're trolling. I think it would actually give us the best option at recovering value. I still voted Shea. I'll make this argument. The odds of recovering meaningful value from starting Jeremy Grant is lower than the odds of getting meaningful value out of the upside of starting Shaden Sharp. I want Jeremy starting, but only for my fantasy squad. Okay, that's as good of a reason as any. I mean, who would be at the 2 instead? Shaden Sharp? I'm confused. Jeremy does better starting and playing with the starters. Not last year. When was the last time we even saw Jeremy off the bench? We don't even have a sample size to compare last year's bad play to him coming off the bench because he started every game last year, the year before, the year before, the year before, the year before. He hasn't played a game off the bench since 2020. Since literally COVID. That was year 1 of the channel. That was the last time he played a game off the bench. So we don't even have anything to actually compare that to make that claim that he's plays better as a starter right now. Maybe he'd be 6th man of the year off the bench. Eli Hanna says, voted Grant. Once Scoot comes back, you'll be able to bring Scoot and Sharp in together and have the lineup we all want. I mean, but you... So how many minutes a game are you playing the 3 forwards with a center? Like, do you plan on playing a Sharp a ton at small forward with Scoot and Drew? It's hard to make the rotations work to play Drew with Scoot and Sharp a lot of minutes. The problem is when you're playing 3 forwards and a center, you're playing a forward a lot at that shooting guard spot. So in order to get both Scoot and Sharp the minutes we all want, you're having to play Sharp a lot at the 3. So you're playing 2 players kind of out of position when you don't need to. And then the minutes is actually, in the rotation, the way it works is actually difficult to figure out. In a way where everybody's getting the proper allotment of minutes. That's the issue. You can start Sharp and stagger him and have him come back in with the bench lineup and play with Scoot. Anyway, 72% of people voting Shaden Sharp, 8% don't feel strongly, 19% voting Jeremy Grant. Tyler Jones says we have to build up Jeremy Grant value to get him gone. Otherwise, we stuck till his contract's up. Here's the funny thing is that narrative played him out of having potential trade value last year. Showcasing him did negative things for his trade value last year. So we're going to waste another year trying to showcase him because showcasing him last year hurt his trade value, and now we're trying to recover it by showcasing him again and not giving Shaden Sharp a full opportunity to be a starter and break out because we're sitting here stuck multiple years just trying to showcase Jeremy Grant, praying that a team might trade a second-round pick for him? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
I know we kind of backtracked a little bit on it today, but Joe Cronin did say previously that it was winning time now. You don't freaking do that crap when it's winning time. You don't do that. That is for tanking teams and teams like OKC 5 years ago when they were trying to, they would trade for a player and then try to recoup some value by, making him play good, and it worked. You do that with players on teams that are bad. You do not do that when you're trying to make a jump from a non-playoff team to a playoff team. You don't worry about that crap. You play your best players and you take that jump. You don't be like, oh, well, we can't play Shaden Sharp and let him score 23 points a game like he's capable of because we got this guy we need to try and get some trade value for. That's not how it works. And you know what? If he just would accept a lesser role, I mean, you're getting paid a crap load of money and you come in and do your job, he could absolutely still be a factor on this team and the rotation and stuff, still have an important role. It's not like he's going to not play or anything. So he could absolutely do that as a sixth man and stuff like that. It's just, it's his contract that's going to be the reason he's not traded, regardless of how he plays. Like, even if he goes back to shooting 40% from three, he's still limited in trade value. Like, I mean, maybe it'll be a little easier to trade him. Maybe you don't have to attach assets or something. But I don't know. I don't even think they're worried about his trade value right now because unless you're trading him for another forward, like maybe you get lucky and trade him to the Lakers for Rui and Gabe Vincent or something. But like, other than that, like unless you get another forward back, like we actually need that forward in the rotation. Otherwise, we're gonna have to play Chris Murray major minutes. So unless he took a jump, I don't really understand what making his value higher so we can trade him even accomplishes right now.
Even if he's playing as well as he's ever played, that's still probably an overpay of a contract. So what are you going to showcase him into is just the issue with that. You're hurting more by trying to showcase him than you're going to gain by showcasing him. Mm-hmm. And I was the guy last year that said, when people brought up, oh, you have to showcase him so that you can trade him at the deadline, I was the person that was sitting there saying, guess what? Showcasing him might end up being a bad thing if he doesn't play as well because he already has some flaws and some warts to his game where if he doesn't shoot 40% from three again and, isn't a 20-point-per-game scorer again, then all of a sudden he becomes a really bad contract. And look what happened. So there's always a downside to showcasing him that ended up playing out, unfortunately, and at this point, they have to eat that contract. In 2 years, it will be an expiring. They can figure out what to do then. Maybe they buy him out like they did DA. But for the next 2 years, he's stuck on this team unless there's another bad contract that you'd rather have than his out there on the market. And I don't know what that would be. It's really tough to figure out. And the teams that, even if he showcases himself and plays well enough to be tradable, there's not many teams that have $30 million of tradable salary and are in a position relative to the hard caps to make a trade work that makes sense for them. So it's way too much of an uphill battle trying to play him heavy minutes as a starter, hoping he recoups trade value that you can actually act upon. It's just such a long shot. it's much more likely that starting Shaden Sharp is more of a benefit to the team that offsets the downside of just eating that contract for Jeremy Grant, because that's like the most likely situation is that's just what they're going to have to do. And I've been saying that for a year. So, yeah, it's a tough position. There's mistakes made, whether it's the contract or not trading the contract. Previously, when they maybe could have, no matter how you feel about it, it's a mistake. But you know what? This team has other good things going for it. Lean into those things. Lean into Shaden Sharp. Like, you know, nothing's ever going to be perfect. So lean into what's good. Yeah. Anyway. That's all my thoughts on this. I feel like we've, bludgeoned this to death. I do want to talk about the offense. The offense is fun to talk about, Eric.
Mm-hmm. Finally.
All right, here's a Chauncey clip speaking about the offense.
Chauncey, you kind of alluded to the coaching changes. And defensively, you have this identity in being disruptive and wanting to protect the paint, but offensively, you're bringing in new coaches.
Yeah.
What do you expect your offensive identity to be? You guys have wanted to get out and run, but transition, you've lacked in efficiency. The shot location stuff changed a ton for you last year. You almost eliminated all the mid-range shots. Like, what do you kind of envision the identity of the offense being, and how different will that be compared to the teams you've had?
I think it'll be a ton different. I expect for us, again, to play faster, moving the ball up the floor. Not only that, even in the half court, some of the cutting patterns and things like that will be totally different. Not as much standing around, if you will, or just run the pick and roll and the other three guys just kind of standing and watching the entire time. We'll get away from those things. We'll be better about that, and just not being as predictable, I guess, if you will. And we have so many guys. Our best times, our best games last year, we had so many guys contributing, and 6 guys, 7 guys in double figures, and everybody just kind of sharing the basketball, sharing it. I want to be like that most nights. I want to be playing that way. I think those are the most difficult teams to play against, where everybody's kind of live, everybody is involved, and everybody's in the action. Everybody feels, valued out there. So that's what we want to try to do.
He's saying all the right things, Eric. He knows what they need to try and do. I think the question now is, can he and his coaching staff actually effectively execute it?
So Taylor Packer messaged me earlier today, asked me if I forgot exactly how he put it, but if I was excited about the new offense or something, or if I'm buying it. So yeah, my response was, anything they say, I'm taking I'll buy it when I see it on the court attitude and approach to it. And that's not to be negative, but like you just mentioned, from his first press conference here, Chauncey has talked about almost this exact same thing: playing fast, moving the ball around, not making it stuck on one player, being unpredictable, that kind of stuff. It's all stuff he said now for 4 seasons.
Do you notice the difference, though, between like when he first made these comments in like season 1, season 2, and now? Because I do think there's a difference.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem more believable. Like it's actually, like he actually figured out how to do it.
I feel like it's more detailed now.
Yeah, it is definitely more detailed. Although he did just say we want to play faster, but I guess he did say that the outlet, where the outlet is. And
yeah,
he did go into more things, but I'll still this is my problem with Chauncey so far. He has not really implemented what he said into actual on the court. Now you could make the argument he did with defense, but they basically played a scheme that he said from the beginning, he didn't really want to be stuck playing one type of defense or whatever. That's basically what they did last year. Now, if it works, it works, but it wasn't necessarily because of his defensive philosophies that it worked out. It just worked out that we got the personnel to run a certain type of defense really well last year, and it started working.
Well, last year was arithmetic, and this year we're doing algebra.
Yeah. So this is where, when you ask what the difference is. So he had another question about bringing Thiago Splitter in, and he said he went to like one of his practices and watched how he like practiced and what he like instructed his players to do and like how they ran it and stuff like that. And he was really impressed by him, and then brings him in to run the offense, you know? And so, by the way, was he calling Roy Rogers low-key dumb or something like that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what.
He's like, I don't want to offend the guy, but like,
he wasn't doing algebra.
He doesn't know
algebra,
yeah.
you know.
But like, so maybe he has the right offensive minds. He also is St. Patrick. What was the guy's name?
Patrick St. Andrews.
St. Andrews, from Memphis, who we saw last year. They ran the least amount of pick and roll in the NBA for a while. Now I don't know if that was because of Andrews or what, but like
they did a lot of creative stuff, like cutting alongside, like parallel to the drive and stuff. They had really interesting principles. I think if we see some stuff, we're gonna have to look at what Memphis did last year and see how similar it is, because I do think he could be a big factor in this.
Right. And the fast, he mentioned Thiago like running his offense. He said he did some creative stuff to get the ball up the court quicker and to get a shot before the defense is set and things like that. Get into your offense before the defense can establish their positions and stuff. So if we do both of those things, I do think it's important to still run pick and roll a decent amount. I still think that's one of the most effective plays. I just don't think it should be all the time. And then I also like that Chauncey said when we do run pick and roll or have screens, we can't just have the other three players standing around, which has been a staple of Chauncey offenses so far, is just a lot of standing around on the other positions and watching what happens. If you have some creative off-ball movements, if you have off-ball screens, curl screens like we talked about with Sharp, things like that, backdoor screens, there's so many wrinkles you can put into these plays, and it just seems so basic. Going back to Stotts, you know, like just running pick and roll to death with Dame and getting to be so predictable. So if they are truly unpredictable and have this free-flowing offense, I'm excited to see it. But I mean, we've talked about this for years as well, Tori, and that's like, why doesn't every team run what Golden State runs? And it's because you need like the smart players to execute it. Like, they have some really smart players and they find players that fit their system and execute it right. And in the NFL, you know, like for years, teams tried to hire Patriots assistant coaches to set up their team and run the Patriot culture and the Patriot way or whatever. And it never really worked out outside of actually on the Patriots, right? So you can talk about all this stuff, but it's a lot harder to like actually see it. And for some reason, it doesn't always translate to working on the court. So I'm hopeful. I love what they're saying, but once again, they've said similar things in the past. Like just last year, Chauncey said like he wanted to be one of the fastest teams in the league, and he thinks we have the personnel to do it. And then we like slow the ball most of the game, and so I'm cautiously optimistic. I'll say that. Like I want to believe in it. I just can't fully jump in until I actually watch some preseason games and see him start to execute some of this stuff.
I think you're for sure going to see some different stuff. We'll have to see what it is. We'll have to see how it's executed. Like one of the things I wonder with motion principles, for example, is what's the balance of cut and fill compared to off-ball screens? and different combinations of off-ball screens, split action if the ball is in the post, etc. Because the Memphis system was more cut and fill, whereas Golden State is a lot more like off-ball screens, and of course it's going to be that way when you have Steph Curry running off these screens, but hitting guys slipping off screens, and it was more like a combination of players compared to just like moving and replacing in space. So I kind of expect it to be more cut and fill based on Patrick St. Andrews being a part of this coaching staff. But then again, I have no idea. This is going to be something to watch, and our offense has always been so limited. Like since we started this channel, I've always wanted to break down a team that runs more motion, has more principles. I'm hoping that'll be the case. I think that will be the case. It's just you can say all these things and implement motion principles that maybe aren't good principles, right? Like, we'll have to see what these principles are and how they function, if they're right or not. Like, we'll break this down. I want to do more like play breakdowns or like clipboard breakdowns, show you guys what's happening on the court, because I think it's a lot of fun to watch games and like see these things as they develop, and that's always kind of been a goal of our channel, is to cover things in depth so you guys can see this stuff as well and enjoy basketball in the same way. And if you don't want to get that nerdy like we are, we still cover games, break down player performances, still have all sorts of stuff for you. But that's something I'm looking forward to seeing preseason game number 1. Hopefully seeing some of these principles. And if it's stagnant at first because it's new, I get it. I'm not going to panic after one preseason game. I just hope to see like flashes of them in preseason game number 1, preseason game number 2, like flashes of what they're trying to do that still need to be worked upon. Because I think it takes some time to implement new motion principles. It's not as simple as implementing a set where it's like, all right, guy screens here, you have a cutter here, that's read 1, read 2 is this guy coming off a pin down on the other side of the floor. Like, that's very A to B to C. It's kind of a linear progression, whereas motion principles and random offense and what they're talking about is a lot more fluid, and not as clear. Which is a good thing. You're supposed to have sets. And I think there's 2 different ways to evaluate this offense. Evaluate their motion principles and evaluate their actual set design. And hopefully we see better set design than the freaking 3-man weave, the handoff, pass back up to the top of the arc. Like, hopefully they're reimagining their set plays as well.
So I just looked it up while you're talking. I went back to the first championship Golden State Warriors team. They were first in pace that season.
Yep.
Next season, we're second. Next season, we're fourth. Next season was fifth. So, they made the finals. Well, they made the finals 5 years in a row, but those 4 years in particular, top 5 in pace all 5 years. So,
yep.
I think that's what they're trying to emulate.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it, man. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have the post-game shows for you guys. We'll break it down. I'm excited. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah.
So, ready to get the ball rolling. Was there anything else that stood out to you from Media Day quotes that you want to get into?
I really like listening to Young talk, but he didn't really say a ton of like things we need to bring up. But I did find it interesting that he wanted to rest after, going through the whole draft process and stuff when he was asked why he didn't play in the Asia Cup. Good to hear Drew say he was good to go. Seemed pretty hyped about all the work Scoot put in, which is good to hear. He also mentioned, this is Drew Holiday mentioned, that rebounding was huge to be in a good defensive team, which also made me think, then why would we start Jeremy Grant? And then Just a side note, he said number 11 was not an option for a jersey number.
Myers Leonard getting his number retired.
Well, I mean, the only thing I could think of that makes sense was Sabonis.
I know, yeah.
But I mean, why would I mean, I guess we could do it now, but it's been a while since we could have retired that a long time ago. Maybe they're trying to get back to honoring some of the older players, but
Or maybe they know they're going to trade for DeMonis.
yeah, maybe.
Maybe they've planted that seed.
Yeah. Robert Williams said what he called him Hans was the most impressed or the person that impressed him most in the workout. He also talked fondly of the fans at Dame's rally, or seeing that new side of the fans. And that it seemed like he was becoming more of a vet, and he's taken Sharp under his wings. He wanted to make a point to mention Shaden Sharp's name.
It's like the most random vet young guy combo, you know,
Right?
center and
I like
rim
it, though.
protector and Shaden Sharp.
Yeah, I like it.
Ayton said he's for real. Ayton said he's going to perform better because he's somewhere where it matters now. For real?
I don't know.
Chat, did he really say that? Do I need to go on another generational Ayton hater rant? I mean, ugh, God. Thank goodness I don't have to watch that dude in a Blazer uniform this year. That's all I'll say. Like, he didn't want to be on a winning team in Phoenix. He wanted to come to a rebuilding team where he could get more opportunity. Like, okay, come here and make it matter here then. Nope, couldn't do that. Couldn't play any better. Coasted. Like, literally was a part of the reason why we had struggles. But he wanted a situation like that. So now I'll try because it matters. No, now you'll try because you're in a contract year. We know what motivates you. So, he is maybe my least favorite player in the league. I think he might be. I don't know who would top him.
Miles Bridges.
Well, for non off the court incident reasons. Yeah. Like not counting Miles Bridges and Kevin Porter Jr. Like, just for a player and the crap that he says and the way that he plays, probably my least favorite player in the league.
Let's see what else.
Taylor says, I don't know, you really hated Eubanks. I hated watching Eubanks play. He kind of drove me crazy, but that was more so what fans said about him, and it was nothing he ever said. So, like, off the floor, on the floor, a total package with Ayton, I can't stand it. Drives me crazy. Thank goodness we got you off the Ayton fan train, Taylor. We saved you.
Scoot said he had been working on catch and shoot and off the dribble, and also mentioned something about his follow through needing to be crisper or something. Thought that was interesting. Tamani mentioned that he'd been working on finishing his shooting, of course, and fouling less. And that's all good things. I think that was pretty much it that stood out from the players.
Drew said Scoot is a gym rat.
Yeah.
You need further proof for that dude having a great work ethic. I mean, Drew Holiday saying that about you is pretty high praise. So that's why the Scoot injury just sucks, dude. Like, I truly feel like he is prime for a similar step as last year, where if he takes a similar step as last year, like, he's going to be a good starting point guard at 21 years of age and upside, like star upside. I truly feel like he's ready for another leap just based on the work that he puts in. That's why the injury sucks. Like, hopefully he gets the opportunity later in the year, man.
Cronin said, I mean, his thing wasn't bad, and don't get me wrong. But he did say a couple things that I was like, huh? One was that he said they have veterans they need to infuse he mentioned Drew, and then he said Grant and Robbville. They need to integrate them into the system. Like, what? They've been here. Like, what are you talking about?
The new system that they're running, they have to.
Well,
Wouldn't they have to
obviously,
infuse that into
everyone.
everybody? Like,
Yeah.
it's new, so yeah.
He made it sound like he was talking about like new additions, but then he threw in Grant and Robbville. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Anyways, he also said a 4 to 8 week timetable for Scoop, but then he said the doctor said it could be anywhere from 4 to 10 weeks. So which is it? I don't know.
8 to 10
hopefully
weeks,
not
probably.
Yeah, I know. And then he said, this made no sense to me, Tori. Maybe you could explain it to me. He mentioned Young being behind other players because he played international basketball. Isn't it usually the opposite?
What do you mean behind other?
He said that the learning curve is like because he hasn't played at the NBA level, so but like no rookie has. So like, isn't it usually international players that have been playing professionally have like an easier adjustment? Like, I don't know. He seemed to imply that like other players, like other rookies, have an easier time than players playing internationally.
I think
and I thought
maybe it's something to do with like the style of play is just different overseas. And maybe that was like a bad way of basically saying like the terminology for him specifically. Maybe that was what he was referencing. Other than that, I have no idea.
yeah, he meant it. He said NBA reps though. Like he didn't say like anything like off the court or anything. So I don't know.
Yeah. That's kind of strange.
And then he did mention that Heiken asked him if he'd have to consult Dundon or what before making moves, and like what happens if the ownership isn't settled by the trade deadline. And he said that Jody was in charge and was going to continue to be until it's actually officially held over. I don't know if I believe that 100% or not. I mean, obviously Jody is in charge, but I'm pretty sure like if it becomes a done deal, they have to at least consult him on big moves, right?
You would
You would think?
Yeah, I don't know what to make of the ownership thing at all right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Hankins said still no YouTube TV for the Blazer games, which is unfortunate. He seemed to pass the buck on that, saying that's out of his control or whatever.
Well, YouTube TV is like
true,
gonna
but
take off NBC or something. YouTube TV,
yeah,
I think it's a YouTube TV issue. YouTube TV is just a problem in general.
Yeah.
So,
he said that the building of the Moda Center has good bones, definitely needs work, but he did throw in a nugget that it is a huge priority for Tom. So that was good to hear. Yeah. And then
got good bones, but needs some work. I've heard that before. Anyway, go ahead.
Bones Jones. I think that's pretty much it. Chauncey, I'll lead off with that. He said Bjorkgren was going to be the head of the defense now. We played his other quote about offense. We mentioned that he said Young's definitely going to play. He said Scoot had an incredible summer and was really bummed, as were we when that news came out, for all the same reasons. He said the keys to their defense were physicality, pressure, and clinging at the rim.
So with the algebra that they're going to be playing defensively, whatever the hell that means, like if those are your keys, I mean, you're kind of just running drop scheme and pressuring up on the perimeter. Like it doesn't seem like algebra. It doesn't seem more complex than what they did last year. So what are they going to do this year that's going to be more complex than last year?
I mean, maybe you could do some more things with a press, or maybe you could like double team more, throw random. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be with Cllingan, but like if it was someone other than Clingan's guy screening, maybe you double team or hedge or show and or something a little different. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they're going to fight through more screens or like operate their
Yeah. I
thing
mean,
a little different. I don't know.
assuming they start Jeremy Grant, they're going to have 3 switchable positions.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you work in those 3 positions being switchable? And like honestly, it's like 3.5 positions being switchable because if Tamani's guarding a guard, he can switch with Drew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and I thought it was other than the Grant stuff, I thought it was a pretty good media day.
There's just always something, and that something is Jeremy Grant starting over Shaden Sharp.
Oh, and I guess we haven't really said anything about Dame.
I know, it's just
I think it was the longest one today.
Yeah.
I did listen to it once. I did not listen to it a second time to go to write notes. I listened to it in the car. He said a lot of Dame stuff, but I don't think there was anything like super talk worthy of that interview. Especially since we've heard him talk at the rally. We heard him talk at the press conference.
Yeah.
We've heard him do some interviews also. We've heard him talk a lot lately, so I don't think there was anything too groundbreaking there.
It was annoying how he was asked a question like, is there any world where it's possible you play this season? Like, let's say if they get the number 1 seed and are ready to go on a deep playoff run, like, any other comment, like, if they're the number 1 seed, like, that means that they got it. Like, they basically don't need me if they're that good. That's kind of like his comment. I was annoyed to see that get posted by NBA Central, where NBA Central just quoted Dame, didn't quote the question. It was just like, basically, Damian Lillard says, if our team's the 1 seed, then they got it, and there's a bunch of comments like, Dame, you guys aren't going to be the 1 seed, idiot. Like, you know what I mean? That was a little annoying to me. Like, he was literally asked that as part of the question. But, social media these aggregation pages won't. It's for clicks, man. It's the game, so.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's being told he can't play this year, but I do appreciate that he's very firmly and strongly saying that he's not playing this year. Like,
yeah,
I do think that's the right decision.
It's already apparently moving pretty decently.
So is Tatum, man. I don't know if you've seen Tatum working out, but like,
it's wild.
Maybe there'll become a day where the Achilles surgery will recover much quicker from and can resume basketball activities much quicker. I wouldn't risk it. It's not worth it this season, especially at his age. I know he's going to be itching to play, but it seems like he has the right mental approach to the season that no matter what happens, I'm just going to sit this one out and try to come back as strong as possible and do everything in my power to be Dame again next year.
Yep, which makes sense. Anyway.
You also mentioned the Young Hansen G League thing earlier. Yeah. That was also kind of like the question was specifically, are you going to play him in the G League? So Cronin did kind of allude to the fact that they didn't want to have to do that, but they would use that as an option if he's not getting playing time, or if, since the G League team is so close, maybe they have a stretch where they have 3 other healthy bigs and don't necessarily need him for a while. It might be an option, but it really sounded like overall he wasn't thinking about putting him down in the G League too much, if at all.
Yep. Anyway, that's all my thoughts. That's all my thoughts. I do got to give a quick shout to Sleeper before we end the stream. Here. I'll pop up the parlay that I should have won if I was just a little smarter on the last pick. So let me pull it up here. But while I do that, if you guys want to check out Sleeper, use promo code Uprise. You'll get a 100% match up to $100. Getting right now, just in time for the NBA season, which is right around the corner, so that you can get in on picks for NBA basketball if you're not a football person. If you are a football person, then you should definitely get in on the action right now, because football parlays are fun. So shout out to me. I had this $12 to win $431 parlay. And if Matthew Golden just didn't catch a 46-yard pass in the first drive of the game, I would have won it. And I would have had $430 to put on Mariners tickets, which are obscenely priced right now. But I took the under, 46.5. He had 58 yards. I got the anytime touchdown for Ibuka, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I got the over receiving yards for Roma Dunze and Christian McCaffrey, which I felt like all those were pretty reasonable picks. I didn't second guess myself at all. And I was like, I need to add something more on. Matthew Golden hasn't done anything all year under, and they're playing the Cowboys who suck defensively.
So you didn't see that. So a lot of fantasy analytics were saying that he saw a huge increase in production and snaps and all that stuff. Even though
I saw that, but I mean, it still wasn't. It still wasn't much, and it still wasn't a ton of targets.
Yeah,
he was 4 targets last week. So if the deep ball he caught, I don't even think it was to him. It was to Dontavian Wicks. If he doesn't catch that, he has 12 yards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I mean, I guess it wasn't even that bad of a play, but man, this hurt. This hurt because I'm trying to get Mariner tickets, and they are pretty pricey. So yeah, this one hurt, but it was fun. I don't know. You play for fun. You win, you lose. A 26x with a 40% boost is $12 to win $431. Coming that close is awesome. So if you think you can do a little bit better than me, then you could maybe win a parlay like that. Use Sleeper to do so. Use code Uprise. That'll help out the channel and take the sting off my loss right here, man. It was painful. Anyway, shout out Sleeper. Looking forward to doing it. NBA. I think I'll be better at NBA. I should be, hypothetically, but I do play a lot of fantasy football, so. And still waiting for that to translate. Anyway. Anything else, Eric?
Well, thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate y'all. Hope to see you on Thursday when we can talk about the first few days of training camp and maybe hear how some players are doing and if Jeremy Grant's been with the first team or no.
Yep. Sir Dammit says, I'm not subscribed to any Patreons, but it would be very tempting to subscribe to a Patreon that does live stream visually the game. Well, we'll have playback stuff where you can listen to us at times. We'll probably rotate who's in the room, but you'll be able to listen and watch the game at the same time. It'll be synced up, and you can control the audio and all that stuff. So I'll have more information on that, but that's the way to go. That's the way to go. And we'll do memberships and stuff through there as well. So stay tuned for that. Looking forward to that. Shout out Sleeper. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us today. This is 5 hours of streaming for me today. After the media day and this stream. So I appreciate all of you who tuned in. Leave a like on the way out of here. I have not been asking for likes enough lately. I need to start doing those polls again. But leave a like on the way out of here. Easiest way to support the channel. And we'll be live again on Thursday. We'll have that Thursday stream. We'll maybe talk about training camp. And then a week from today, next Monday, we'll do our predictions. And then we'll be into post-game shows, which will be fun. So anyway, I'm out of here. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of your night. And until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers!